What's up, guys? Joe Hopkins here, and today I'm talking about what makes a guitarist great. You know, what makes a guitarist great? We've seen all these lists, right? Rolling Stone does them, all the websites. It's clickbait. They're kind of dumb. But it got me to thinking, what does make a guitarist great? How do you be considered a great guitarist, right? And let's start with, you actually have to be at least really good at your instrument. You have to be a great guitarist to be considered a great guitarist, usually. And with a lot of these lists, there are people that make them that some of us might look at and go, how did they make the list? You might, but most of the people that are, playing guitar on big songs or with big bands, they have hits, they're at least pretty competent. You know what I mean? But as far as greatness, you have to be a great guitarist to be a great guitarist. That goes without saying. Oh, but here's a very important thing. To be known as a great guitarist, you also have to be known. At one time, that meant you had to be in a band that had hits. Now, it might seem pretty intuitive, but people kind of forget this sometimes. There are a lot of great guitarists that we've never heard of. If Eddie Van Halen hadn't been in a band with hits, he would just be some guy in California who's great at the guitar, but would we know his name? No. We wouldn't, even if he was working in the industry. There are a lot of amazing session guitarists that you don't know their name, right? You hear that guitar solo on some song and you think that's a great solo. Do you know who it was? No, you don't. When you look it up, sometimes you recognize the name. Some of the dudes that were in big bands also did a lot of session work, like Steve Lukather. Guitarists know who he is, right? But take a look at it. He had hits with his band, and he also did a lot of stuff with everybody. Same thing with Neil Schon. He did session work too. He played on other people's stuff. But without Journey, we wouldn't know the name Neil Schon. He'd just be that guy that played that solo on that song I like. So you have to be known as a great guitarist. You have to be a great guitarist, and you have to be actually name recognizable. Now, these days, you don't have to be in a band with big hits, right? I'm a guitarist. Most of you guys are. We've all heard of Guthrie Govan. His band, the Aristocrats, does not have hits. These guys, you wouldn't know who he was if it weren't for social media. Social media is why we know that guy, which is a blessing. He's a joy to listen to. He's a joy to watch, especially watch his fingers. Jesus. The dude is amazing, right? We know who he is because most of us saw him on YouTube videos that weren't even on his channel. It was he did these jam things for some guitar channel, and they were amazing. And we saw it, and then everybody started paying attention. But he is a great guitarist. Social media did that. At one time, you had to be in a band. You had to have hits. You had to be on the radio. You have to be known. There has to be some way for us to know that you're a great guitarist, for us to know that you're a great guitarist. Jimmy Page is a great guitarist. If he hadn't joined the Yardbirds and then formed Led Zeppelin, we wouldn't know his name. He was doing session work, amazing session work. The guy's a great guitarist. But it would have just been session work. We would have probably heard the solos. We've heard a lot, back then people heard him without knowing it was him until he joined the Yardbirds. And then we know the name. To be known as a great guitarist, you need that. Also on these lists, you get a lot of people that we scratch our heads. We go, why is that guy on the list? There are great guitarists who are great in a way that isn't necessarily flashy. Jack White makes a lot of those lists, and I think he is a great guitarist for reasons other than just technical ability. The guy is very good at his instrument, but more than that, he writes really good guitar songs, has great phrasing. That can make a difference too. I don't care how fast you are or how many notes you can play or how many scales you can do if it's not interesting. Jack White writes guitar parts that are arguably very interesting. It catches your ear. Seven Nation Army isn't difficult, but it's an amazing riff. And people enjoy hearing it. That is a great guitarist. You're a great guitarist if you can write guitar parts that people want to hear. And then there are people that just noodle, and it's not all that interesting. They're great. They have the technical ability, but if nobody wants to hear it, you're not great. You have to work on your phrasing as much as your guitar ability. In fact, quite often phrasing is even more important. It's why Jack White's on the list, and there are other people that aren't. Jack White makes those lists because phrasing, because the riffs, because it's interesting, because people want to hear it. They're good songs. If you're a great guitarist and you don't have at least good songs, if not great songs, then you're not a great guitarist. That's part of it, is writing great pieces, which you don't need the technical ability necessarily to do. That's a creative thing. That's, coming up with and playing interesting parts and really good songs. Songwriting and part playing doesn't have to include amazing over-the-top technical ability. It can. Eddie Van Halen wrote amazing guitar pieces and amazing songs, and was also an amazing guitarist with amazing technical ability. They can go together, but they don't always have to. Kurt Cobain, for instance, he makes those lists sometimes. People argue, well, he's not a great guitarist. Well, he is a great guitarist. He wrote some amazing guitar parts for amazing songs. That's amazing. That's a great thing to do. You write a great piece, that's also great, even if you're not playing an incredibly complicated technical thing. Right? And along with that, writing great songs makes you more likely to be known as well. To get back to the known part, you do have to be known. You have to do something that people listen to and know what your name is, or you won't be known. Yeah, it makes sense. You need to at least be known in your genre. Look at Tim Henson, great guitarist. You know who I mean. What is it, Polyphia? They don't have top 40 hits, but their songs are hits in their genre. So people know who he is. And then word gets out, word spreads. This guy's a great guitarist. And then other guitarists, even if you're not necessarily into that music, that's not super my thing, but I check it out because the dude's amazing, and I am impressed at his abilities. And the songs are solidly good. They're interesting to listen to. I really like them. And, along with that, getting known can also mean getting with people that are known. Would we know who Steve Vai was if he hadn't played with Frank Zappa? That was the thing that kind of boosted him up there. He's Frank Zappa's guitarist. Those amazing guitar pieces. Now you're like, oh, who is that? It makes a difference, getting known. And in today's social media atmosphere, you could do that in a variety of ways now. You don't have to have hits. You don't have to be in a big band. Like, I know of guitarists like Bradley Hall and Stevie T and Guitar Max, who what was his name? Max Carlisle, I think, and the Music is Win guy. I can't remember his name now. Music is Win. I love the channel, though. You know who these guys are and that they're great guitarists because they have YouTube channels. Right? Rick Beato's an amazing guitarist. Would you know his name if it weren't for his channel? Social media makes a difference. Now, these aren't guys that are making lists of greatest guitarists, but there are people that make that list that made it on social media, like Guthrie Govan, where he's doing legitimate music stuff, but it was the social media stuff that brought him to my attention and brought him to a lot of people's attention. Otherwise, he'd just be an amazing session guy with this band that a couple people know about. Which, the world would be lesser for if that were the case. The dude's amazing. But yeah, to be a great guitarist, you have to be at least really great or creative at your instrument. I put creative in there because of guys like Jack White and Kurt Cobain, who aren't great in a technical sense, but they do incredibly creative things. And that is a form of greatness. So you have to be great. You have to be known, right? And you really have to do it in the context of something people want to listen to. It does have to be interesting. Those are the things that make a great guitarist. And if you look at the lists of great guitarists, even the ones that you'd argue maybe, should they be on this list? Should they be on, should that person be there? Shouldn't somebody else be on there? Argue about it all you want. The lists are full of people that generally have those qualifications. They are either technically great at their instrument or do incredibly creative things that get your attention. And they are known. They've done something that enough people have heard of them that you at least know the name, or when it lists what band they're in, you go, oh, okay, I know that band. They're known on some level. And, they're writing things that people want to listen to. Even if it's not you that likes it, somebody, there's enough people that want to listen to this. What they're doing is interesting to enough ears, I should say. And for all of you guys out there that don't have like those over-the-top technical abilities, right? Because that's not all of us, right? I'm a pretty competent guitarist, but I can't do a lot of the things other people do. Part of it is with me, I can't get my right hand and my left hand to coordinate past a certain speed. It just doesn't happen. There's a disconnect. But you don't have to have that. Work on your phrasing, work on your, doing interesting things, creative things, try new things, try to develop a sound that's yours. That can make a really big difference. Because you don't have to do the Eddie Van Halen licks. You don't have to be able to play like Steve Vai. You don't have to be able to Yngwie Malmsteen, like the really fast, technically amazing stuff. I mean, Eric Clapton didn't do that stuff. Jimmy Page didn't do that stuff. Jimi Hendrix didn't do that stuff. And we all know who those guys are. They're considered great. Work on your phrasing. Work on your creativity. Try to come up with new and interesting things. I mean, when Rage Against the Machine came out, right? Damn it, I can't remember his name now. My brain, I'm getting old. I know the guitarist's name. But anyway, I heard that and I'm like, that's not technically hard, a lot of what he's doing, but it sounds amazing and it's different. It sounds new and fresh, and that can make a very, very big difference. Or do like a lot of what Jack White did, which is taking old stuff. He took a lot of the old rock and blues stuff and did interesting things with it, made it sound fresh again. If you do that, you can be a great guitarist. Even if you can't work up to like the speed and technical ability a lot of these people have. And at this point, we've gotten to a point where speed and playing scales quickly has gone so far over the top. You got guys that are so fast and slick at this stuff. The dudes that were big when I was a kid, like, Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen, like they've gone way past that for speed and technical ability. It's shocking what people can do now. But there's so many people that can do that now. It's almost pointless to compete. And sometimes it is a competition, isn't it? But yeah, those are the things that I believe make a great guitarist. And what I find a certain amount of hope in with this is I don't have to be the next Eddie Van Halen. I can focus on my on creativity and phrasing and things like that. And of course, I can get faster and I can get better with my scales and those things improve, but that doesn't have to be the focus like it's been at certain times. And you can still, do something very interesting and creative. And I love the fact that with social media, you no longer have to be in a hit band. You no longer have to do it with the industry. You can do it on your own and still get known, and that's pretty cool. So there's hope for us geezers too. This used to be such a young man's game, and now you got dudes like Rick Beato that are showing up as old guys and showing off their ability, and the dude's amazing. And it's worth watching, and it's worth listening to. I love what he does on the guitar, and when he plays his little jazz licks, I love watching it, right? But a lot of us older guys can find on YouTube and social media, we got a shot now, right? This used to be just strictly a young man's game, and or a young woman's game. A lot of young women, women are more in music now, more front and center than they used to be. I like that too. but it's way more egalitarian, I'd say. It's across the board. We all got a shot now, and that's kind of fun. And even if you don't make it big, you can at least do like I'm doing, where you're just having fun, and even if only a few people know who you are, it's cool. You're recognized on some level, and that feels validating. So, yeah. You can be a great guitarist. I can be a great guitarist. We can all be great guitarists. You just got to work on what you have that you can do. Yeah. And as far as what made a lot of those guys great, it really is being good and creative at your instrument and getting known somehow. And yeah. And I'm not going to go to like a list of great guitarists. I've done that before. But yeah, we all know the names, and those names are changing, right? When I think of great guitarists now, I include guys like Bradley Hall and Stevie T and Rick Beato because of YouTube. Guitar Max is pretty damn good. Max Carlisle's pretty awesome. Music is Win, that guy. I can't remember his name, but you know who you are. I like a lot of these YouTube guitarists and social media guitarists. They're good. I enjoy listening to them, and I enjoy their thoughts on things. And it's a little bit of a shame sometimes that you also have to be entertaining and amusing. You can't just play your guitar. You used to be able to just play, but you also had gatekeepers. So give and take. Yeah. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. Go be great. Be a great guitarist. And while you're at it, check out my new album. It's called Talking Dogs. In a sec, there's a playlist that comes up because I put all the songs on a playlist on YouTube. So you don't even have to leave YouTube. You can just watch it here. Or you can go to streaming. The links are in the description. And check it out because I'm a great guitarist and you should find out about it. That's right. All right. I'll see you guys in the next video. I love y'all. Peace out, baby. Bye-bye.